They said the old homeless man on Maple Street asked for only one thing for Christmas. Not money, not food, not a place to sleep. When the mayor finally heard what that wish was, he locked himself in his office and cried. By Christmas morning, an entire town would be standing in silence, holding candles, realizing they had almost ignored the one man who understood the true cost of love. Stay with this story until the end, because what that man gave back was far greater than anything he asked for. The first snow of December fell softly on the town of Ridgewood, covering the sidewalks in a clean white blanket that made everything look peaceful, even the things that weren't. Store windows glowed with warm lights, wreaths hung proudly on doors, and carols drifted through the air. People hurried by with shopping bags, heads down, breath visible in the cold. Christmas was coming, and everyone was busy preparing for joy. Everyone except the man who sat on the bench near the old clock tower. His name was Samuel Carter, though no one in town seemed to know it anymore. To most people, he was just that homeless man. The one with the worn coat, the gray beard, and the eyes that seemed too kind for someone who had lost so much. He had been there for years, quietly existing on the edges of everyone's lives. Some days people dropped spare change into his cup. Most days they didn't. Samuel never begged. He never shouted or chased after anyone. He simply sat, watching the town live without him. What no one knew was that Samuel once lived in one of the biggest houses on Pine Hill. He had been a school teacher for nearly 30 years. He had a wife named Alina and a little girl named Lucy, who used to run into his arms every evening when he came home from work. Christmas had once been his favorite time of year. He used to hang lights, bake cookies, and read stories by the fireplace while Lucy fell asleep on his chest. Then came the accident. One icy night, Alina and Lucy were driving home from a Christmas concert. A drunk driver ran a red light. In one moment, Samuel's entire world disappeared. Grief swallowed him whole. He tried to keep teaching, tried to smile, tried to live, but the silence at home was unbearable. Bills piled up. His mind grew heavy. Eventually, the house was gone. Then the job. Then everything else. By the time Ridgewood noticed him again, Samuel was already invisible. As Christmas approached, the town council announced their annual season of giving campaign. Donations, toy drives, charity dinners, everyone felt proud of their generosity. The local news even filmed a segment about how Ridgewood was the most caring town in the county. That was when a young reporter named Emily Harper noticed Samuel. She was new in town, still believing stories mattered. One freezing evening, she saw Samuel sitting alone while laughter spilled out of the cafe across the street. Something about the way he stared at the Christmas lights stopped her. She approached him gently. "Sir," she said, "may I ask what you want for Christmas?" Samuel looked up, surprised. For a moment he didn't speak. Then he smiled, a soft, tired smile. "I have a wish," he said, "but I don't think anyone would want to hear it." Emily sat beside him anyway. "Try me." Samuel hesitated, then spoke words that would eventually break an entire town. "I just want people to remember," he said. "Not me, them." Emily didn't understand. Not yet, but she felt the weight in his voice. She promised to come back, and she did. Emily returned the next day with a recorder, intending to tell Samuel's story. At first he resisted. He said his life didn't matter anymore. But Emily insisted that it did, that it always had. Slowly, Samuel opened up. He spoke about Alina's laugh, about Lucy's crooked smile, about how Christmas used to feel like hope instead of pain. His voice trembled, but he didn't cry. He had already cried all the tears he had. When Emily finally asked him again about his Christmas wish, Samuel took a long breath. "I don't want gifts," he said. "I don't want money. I want the town to stop pretending kindness is seasonal. I want them to look at the people they pass every day. I want them to remember the names they've forgotten. I want one night, just one, where no one eats alone." Emily's heart broke. She aired the story that night. By morning, Ridgewood was different. People recognized Samuel. Some remembered him teaching their children. Others remembered his wife. Guilt spread quietly through the town like falling snow. Donations flooded in, but Emily made sure they understood this wasn't about charity. It was about connection. On Christmas Eve, something extraordinary happened. The town canceled its fancy gala. Instead, long tables were set up in the town square. Homes opened. Chairs were placed. Candles were lit. Invitations weren't printed, they were spoken. "Come," people said, "sit with us." Samuel arrived late, unsure if he belonged. When he stepped into the square, the entire town fell silent. Then one by one people stood, not to applaud but to make space. A seat waited for him at the center. Samuel's hands shook as he sat down. He looked around and saw faces wet with tears. Children, parents, strangers, neighbors. No one was invisible that night. The mayor stood and spoke, his voice breaking. "We forgot what Christmas was," he said. "This man reminded us." Samuel didn't speak. He didn't need to. That night, laughter filled the square. Stories were shared. Names were learned. And for the first time in decades, Samuel felt warm, not from the food or the fire, but from belonging. Samuel passed away quietly the following spring. But Ridgewood never returned to the way it was. Every Christmas, the town sets a place for someone who has nowhere else to go. They call it Samuel's Table. And every year, they tell the story of the man whose only wish was for people to see each other again. Because sometimes the greatest gift isn't what you give, it's who you choose not to forget.